It was a completely exhaustion and the black hole. Right nowadays, we call it burnout. Nature is a healer, but when you already burn out, nature can enforce your black hole. Because you feel lost. Wherever you go, you feel lost somehow. It's a smooth breathing I'm practicing because when you breathe out a bit longer, you automatically breathe in the right way. Then there are animals, there are cows in front of the house. I talk to the cows. You can think now I'm completely crazy, but it helps. So it was little steps, find healing again, but mostly of changing the mindset towards stress, wanting from oneself too much all the time, forcing I have to be perfect and everything has to be perfect. Mistakes happen and they happen to all of us. Then feeling guilty, justifying myself, why, and not forgiving myself, and all these things, they build up an exhaustion. What they recommend to handle stress, but in the end of the day, everyone has to find out by him or herself. Trip to Southeast Asia probably saved my life. I recovered in between 3 weeks and started to meditate and found my interest in the Buddha teachings. Something, a situation or an event or happening that brings me completely out of balance. Right breathing. By short breaks, I take a break. I do something completely different. Release steam for yourself, not towards others. Yeah, and get back to the task and do it again and do it better. And mind your words to find inner calm again. Helping others to avoid when the first signs come up from, firstly, it's exhaustion, When being younger, I forced myself too much. That find balance, that little step from healthy stress to unhealthy stress to exhaustion to burnout. Jogging led me to the change of mindset. Because the jogging, the breathing again.
Yeah.
Better not to burn out and start jogging and meditating and maybe change sometimes the environment before you burn out, right? The burnout prevention.
Definitely.
Cooking.
Cooking.
And cooking for friends and to
Definitely.
share food, to share thoughts, to share moments, to share laughter, to share a good song. I found out even you drink a bit more, you don't have a headache next day because the good energy burned it up. I found out the opposite when staying with people where it's not balanced, where there's a lack of trust and so on, that I tend to have a headache the next day. To share experience. Good. Just had a power nap for 30 minutes.
Oh, that's nice. I did already go through my morning routine, so yeah, I'm ready.
Yoga, meditation?
Yeah.
Good. Me too. 6:00.
So let's start. Welcome to Love Your Stress podcast. My name is Tuoms, and today's our guest is Otto, and he's been teaching people all over the Asia. And let him tell him about himself. Let him introduce himself.
Hi, Toms. Thank you for the kind invitation. I'm pleased to meet you. My name is Otto. I live in Southeast Asia. I have left Europe in 2009 and have started a completely new life from prep, working in the education industry in 4 countries in the last 11 years. In Thailand, in Myanmar, in Vietnam, and finally now in Cambodia. I have stopped teaching 2 years ago and focusing fully on my long-term project for mental happiness and inner health. Yep. I have founded my first own company when I was 26. Back then in Europe, in interior design and product development. Originally, I come from the financial industry where I used to work for 7 years when I was young, but that was not really fulfilling. And so I founded my own company when turning 26. Yep.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I would love to hear more about what's your relationship with stress and how has it changed over these years? Because you said
Yes.
you were working in a business, and now then you're teaching, and now you're business again.
Yes,
So
yes.
how has your relationship to stress changed over time, and what is it now like now?
Thanks. This is a very interesting question, you know. As we grow in time, so our approach or our handling to stress grows too, right? I have to say I worked very, very hard 7 days a week when I was younger, and I burned out when turning 39. And this burnout was pretty heavy. There was also not so much research going on about this topic in those days. And a trip to Southeast Asia probably saved my life. I recovered in between 3 weeks and started to meditate and found my interest in the Buddha teachings, which helped me to find more inner peace, happiness, inner fulfillment in my life.
Let's get on the same page. And how would you define the stress in your own words?
I would define stress as something, a situation or an event or happening that brings me completely out of balance.
Mm.
Mm. Where I feel inner stress and a kind of nervousness. For example, when being too late to an appointment. All right. I hate being too late. So I'm always too early. But certain
That's good.
circumstances can force you to being late, you know, traffic jam,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. You know, it should never be an excuse, better leaving home earlier. But that causes me stress, or what else causes me stress is when I cooperate with humans, we're working on the same tasks and the ones are not prepared,
Mm.
right? That causes me stress, I have to say honestly. I worked for a long time in my life. I got vast experience, working experience in several fields of work. So we learn how to manage ourselves. I think time management is something very, very important to train ourselves, right? So as I mentioned, when being a bit too late, it makes me nervous and I don't feel good and I don't feel professional, but it rarely happens, but it can happen, yeah.
You just mentioned it about feelings, how you feel when you're stressed. I would like to ask you specifically, how do you notice that you are stressed? Because we all know what the stress means. We define it completely different ways, but each of us have like specific things we notice. So how do you notice that you're becoming stressed? What are those feelings?
It's an inner nervousness of being out of balance, out of harmony.
What would be the top three things if you had to summarize? You already mentioned some of them. The top three things that stress you the most at the moment.
Mm, I cannot say it's at the moment, it's in general, right? Things they
Okay.
always stressing me out. This is, for example, dishonest people who lack integrity. I would say that stresses me, right? Or time thieves, or sunshine friends who always there when there is a party and something to celebrate, but when it comes down to challenges or problems, and we all have our problems and our challenging days and moments, then they gone, right? And that stressed me a lot in the past. I can handle that more now due more experience. But this stresses me, right? When people not stick to their word and are dishonest and lack integrity, it's a huge stress factor for me. When realizing this about others, I work close together, let's say.
So yeah, because you said that you now handle it better. So how exactly you are handling your stress these days?
Coming down more easily from stress due to
Mm-hmm.
experience facing stress, right? I come down by stress by breathing, right breathing,
Mm-hmm.
by short breaks. I take a break. I do something completely different. I go on my terrace and I start gardening for 10 minutes and then I'll go back to the task and then everything is good again, right? Because I found out it's better to take a short break, release steam for yourself, not towards others. Yeah, and get back to the task and do it again and do it better, you know. And mind your words. Mind your words. When you're in stress situations, cooperating with others.
Mm. What do you mean by mind your words?
Let it sink in for a moment before you speak out something in a stressed situation. Let it sink in for a moment, breathe, and then answer. Right? Take a little
Mm.
bit more time to respond. Don't respond in that stressed moment. Let it sink in a little bit. It can be seconds, it can be half a minute, a minute. It helps. This is what
Love
I
how you
found out
said.
for myself. Yes, yes. Breathe, breathe. Have that consciousness that everything is impermanent and that situations come and go. And this is just a situation that seems to stress you. Forget the stress, breathe, calm down, right? Think about something lovely and then respond. Let it sink in for a moment. I
Mm.
did that. I learned that the hard way when I was young. Sometimes you impulsive, or someone catch you at the wrong moment, and then you respond what you later on regret. Right? The tone, the words, and so on. And this I have learned. Give yourself a little bit time, let it sink in, and then respond.
Yeah, I love how you framed it because sometimes people say think twice, which is not so descriptive. However, what you are suggesting is actually let it sink in and take a breath. Yeah, this
Yes,
breathing is really powerful tool and
yes.
method as well. So, do you have any specific breathing techniques that you practice, or is just like just being generally aware?
My breathing techniques align to the breathing when I'm meditating, right? So I breathe in and keep the breath a little bit and try to breathe out longer than I breathe in.
Mm.
Mhm.
So it's
Because
inhale,
when,
hold, exhale pattern.
yes, yes, exhale pattern. Because when you breathe out a bit longer, you automatically breathe in the right way. It's
Yeah.
automatic, right? So this has nothing to do. It's a smooth breathing. I'm practicing, and I'm also teaching to breathe not like a steam train, or someone who just walked up 100 stairs. Smooth. I always say smooth, breezy, like ice cream melting in the sun.
Mm.
Breezy. Don't press and push, and so because this is the next stress factor, right?
Mm.
So do it consciously, but softly. And mind, you are really mind that breathing in, feel it. And then focus on that longer breathing out than breathing in. It's releasing. It's like you taking out the garbage. When you're breathing out a bit longer, it's cleaning, it's an inside cleansing. To breathe out longer, and then I say sometimes, let it go, let it be, or let that unpleasant situation be, let it go. And so this is what I mean with let it sink in, and then the response, comes more convinced and comes from centered inside. So I see it. Just to give yourself a little bit time and mind your breath.
I love the vivid visuals you give us, like really juicy and easy, simple to understand because sometimes people say some certain numbers, you count your breath. Do you count your breath? Or you just observe and make it smoother, you said?
I observe my breath. I
Mm.
observed my breath, how it comes um, more focused, more balanced, how I become more and more two in one with my breath,
Mm.
right? Yes.
Yeah, it depends on the person, I guess. For some people, the counting also helps because from science point of view, it activates prefrontal cortex and
I
lets you
know.
focus. However, I imagine, would you say that your experience in meditation allows you to not need to count anymore? Did you count in the beginning, or you never did?
I never really did. But
Mm.
I have to say that I was taught another meditation technique. This is the
Mm-hmm.
transcendental meditation, which
Yeah.
uses a mantra. right? So you repeat the mantra over and over again till the mantra becomes one with you and sinks completely in. And then you reach that deeper consciousness and so on. But I have to say that I prefer the breathing technique meditation. I prefer it to the transcendental meditation, as I don't want to repeat the mantra over and over again. It is like it's a bit like an addiction to a mantra, you know. Maybe this is not the right word, but you depend then on the mantra. We all depend on our breath, and we depend on our right breathing. And I find this is the essential, you know. And this is why I focus more on breathing meditation than on transcendental meditation.
That's a good point, yeah. And the third point, so you said you do three things is mind your words, you take a breath, and you take a
Yes.
break. And you
Yes.
already said that you go out to the garden, and the
Yes.
break is usually around 10 minutes.
Yes, taking a short walk in nature. I go there, I go in the neighborhood, I buy me a drink, I walk, I breathe in all the trees, what I see. Then there are animals, there are cows in front of the house. I talk to the cows. You can think now I'm completely crazy, but it helps. I love to play with children. That really helps. I love to play with dogs. I also talk to them. I'm a dog lover, you know. And this is all little things. They are for free and they calm you down. You know, they give you that little moment to find your inner balance again, to get a little bit distance, right? Not an escaping distance, a distance where you say, so let it sink in. And now, so what's left from the stress is not much left. Really. After, really. This is sure. I practice this a long time, you know, to calm myself down when feeling stressed and exhausted and tired, you know. I think we all can learn our best ways for ourselves to calm ourselves down from stress. It's always very interesting and engaging to hear experts like you or other experts what they recommend to handle stress, you know. But in the end of the day, everyone has to find out by him or herself.
Yeah, I completely agree that different people have different personalities and different circumstances, and also different habits, therefore different situation. So therefore different methods would work better or worse for varied people. And
Yes.
my next question is, these days, what motivates you to release your stress?
To find inner calm again. What motivates me to release my stress? To find inner calm again. Just to get rid of stress by handling in the best possible way. That motivates me, you know. We are not clear and we are not conscious when we are stressed, right? So we do sometimes crazy things, or most of all exhaust ourselves and others around us when we are stressed and nervous. And I always say there is a healthy stress and an unhealthy stress, right? The healthy stress is what keeps you going, what keeps you motivated. When I have, for example, I have two whiteboards in front of me in my office, and then I write my tasks or my thoughts on the whiteboard, and then I see that in big, you know. When younger, I took notes in a notebook, you know, written, not the laptop. Now it's whiteboards, and that really helps because you keep the overview over your day and your plans for the next day or tasks that still have to be accomplished and so on. And that also helps me to reduce my stress by being self-organized.
So I was just thinking, why I asked about the motivation is because in the past you mentioned that you even went as far as burnout, and it was quite heavy one. So do you know why it happened? Like because at that point of life you didn't have the motivation to release the stress, and now you have this motivation of finding inner peace. So
Yeah.
can you pinpoint the difference of
Yes.
the what changed?
Excellent question, by the way. Obviously, I had to reach the point where I could not do it any longer. I burnt out, right? I reached the limit. And this pushed me further to rethink why. Why? I can tell you why. It was 7 days working a week, never taking a break, overtaking myself by two big projects, two big tasks I took over. Then I was still in product development. I did two big exhibitions in 1 year, right? So this is a lot of preparing time, and then you have to accumulate customers and make business, and and then I moved my home, and then my relationship went down, right, the river, and so everything came together, and then suddenly it was like a black hole. It was a completely exhaustion and a black hole, and my medical advisors, they all said it's a depression. I say, this is not a depression. I know depressions when I was young. This is not a depression. This is something bigger, this is something I cannot explain in words, right? Nowadays, we call it burnout. I've learned a lot from my burnout. Better not to have a burnout, for sure, to avoid it. And I am helping others to avoid when the first signs come up from, firstly, it's exhaustion, It's an inner exhaustion where you can't find good sleep anymore. The food doesn't taste well anymore. Your relationships are all like, I don't know, everything is like a chewing gum. Being more conscious when reaching the limit and give oneself breaks. When being younger, I forced myself too much. I'm still forcing myself, but I know when a break is needed. And when still being young, I did not know that fine balance, that little step from healthy stress to unhealthy stress to exhaustion to burnout, right? I've learned it in the hard way. It was serious. I was even thinking to taking my life. But I started to jog, for example, right? When it was the heaviest, I started to run, and I ran in the Emperor Garden in Vienna. I never forget. And this was the first step maybe that saved my life. And then I was kicked by a friend in the ass. They said, take a break, close your company, take a trip. Why not going for 2-3 weeks to Southeast Asia? Maybe you like the culture and so on. And so that saved my life. So it was little steps to find healing again, but mostly of changing the mindset towards stress, towards wanting from oneself too much all the time, forcing, I have to be perfect and everything has to be perfect and I have everything, and when mistakes happen, and they happen to all of us, then feeling guilty, justifying myself, why, and not forgiving myself, and all these things, they build up an exhaustion. And I have learned from that a lot. I don't do that anymore. I let go, I let be. I'm still strict to myself and I force myself, but I would say to a healthy degree, not to an unhealthy. When I feel it's getting unhealthy, I take a break.
So I noticed that you, in this story, mentioned a couple of really interesting things here. And the first one was taking breaks again. And what I noticed your pattern before where you were overstressed, that you didn't have any time for yourself, right? So you were just work and just projecting outwards and being busy, right? So there was no me time. There was just work, 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 push, 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 stress. So that's one pattern, right?
You do that when you love your work.
Yeah.
You do that when you love your work. When this is the center of your life, when you really found your destination in life, the work you love the most, you will always give everything, right? And I think that's good. And you need that to reach your results and your goals. But a bit more of a sensitive minding when that getting unhealthy. It's a fine
Yes.
line sometimes. It's a fine line.
Definitely.
And when you dance on that fine line for a long time, it will also lead you to burnout. So it's better walking a dog. When you feel overstressed, I find it completely relaxing when walking a dog, for example, or like I mentioned, playing with children or listening to music, or gardening. Nature is a healer, as we know. Nature mostly
Definitely.
helps. Yes. But when you already burn out, nature can enforce your black hole.
How
So
come?
it because you feel lost. Wherever you go, you feel lost somehow. Right? Is it nature or is it in a room? I remember my days were gray rooms, and my nights and evenings were black holes when I was burned out. And I don't want to have that anymore. Really, it was really lonely and bitter, and I felt so misunderstood. And I saw the weakness in myself, and I failed. And again, this self-judgment, and self-forcing. This is unhealthy. We should enjoy life, and sometimes we do great things, and sometimes we make mistakes, and sometimes we fail, and sometimes we have a bad day, and we should all see that as a part of life. This is everything normal. This is not abnormal. Not to overrating things.
So the second thing I noticed in your previous story when you were talking about your burnout was you mentioned that you started jogging. Then you
Yes.
mentioned that you changed your environment, so you completely moved to Asia. And you
Yes.
also mentioned the mindset. If I had to ask you, which was the first one? Like, how did you started getting out of your burnout? Was it with the physical exercise at the beginning, and then a mindset changed, or you changed your mindset and then you wanted to start jog? So, like a chicken and egg problem, like, or where is it like hand in hand, or how did it
Got
go?
it. Love the question, Toms. I would say that jogging led me to the change of mindset, because the jogging, the breathing again, right? You jog for an hour, in the beginning you jog 20 minutes, you think I'm going to die, right? But after a while, you're jogging for 40 minutes, 50 minutes, you delivering, your body is delivering endorphins, and you feel good, right? And then you come home, and then you feel so fresh, and you feel so full of mind, right? And even I was not over the burnout, but it led me probably to the next steps, to the next healthy steps, to change the environment, to listen more consciousness to friends, to listen to their advice, to follow their advice. They said, we love you, do something, we cannot see you suffering anymore. And I could not help myself anymore. Sometimes you need the push from outside, but the first step, I think you always have to do yourself. And in this case, that was the jogging.
Yeah, definitely. That's also what I
Yes,
love to focus on. The first, do the physical part, physical body, physical
yes,
exercise. And
yes.
if it's intensive, something as intensive as jogging, as I said, you already go to the next step, which is your next tool, which is breathing. You cannot jog and breathe shallow. You cannot jog and keep the short breath. I mean, you can, but you still bring
You
the
can't.
awareness.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
That's
it's
so true.
automatic.
It's automatic. Yes. It just pumps fresh air and energy in your body system. And that is maybe that was the first step to healing.
Definitely.
But it was not it was an important part, but it was not strong enough. So I needed that change of environment, where I then really, after I think 2.5 weeks, I completely recovered, and I felt like in reincarnation in this very life, the same body, but with a new kind of spirit or approach towards life, a much happier one. It changed my life completely. So sadly, it needed the burnout to reach this stage. Let's say like this.
Yeah.
Better not to burn out and start jogging and meditating and maybe change sometimes the environment before you burn out. right? The burnout
Yeah,
prevention
definitely.
is what should come first, right? Not the aftermath, what's left from the burnout, right? But this is how we learn, and this is how we gain experience, right? It's always talking
Definitely.
easy after, Mm. Love the chat, Toms. Thanks a lot for the kind invitation.
Yeah, and my next question would be like, because you said prevention first, and I completely agree. So once you're out of the burnout, what physical activities you still have left in your life for the prevention of the stress? So what are those activities on top of the walking, talking to dogs, and doing the gardening? Is there anything else you practice?
Cooking.
Cooking.
Cooking and cooking for friends. I love to
Nice.
cook, to invite friends, and then I prepare a nice meal and nice drinks. And I do that really with my passion and my heart. And then everyone comes, and then we eat and drink and enjoy and listening to music. Sometimes we dance a bit. But most of all, it's interesting talks where
Mm-hmm.
close friends open up. We know we can trust each other. We can talk about everything. And this is like a holiday, I tell you. A
Mm-hmm.
2 hours, 3 hours, nice dinner with close friends or loved ones. You can feel it the next day, You feel so fresh and you feel so inspired from the exchange of thoughts and the
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed moments, right? And I find that gifting, that sometimes we should do things like that to enjoy with others and
Definitely.
to share food, to share thoughts, to share moments, to share laughter, to share a good song or whatever. And I found out even you drink a bit more, you don't have a headache next day because the good energy burned it up, all the toxics they were included, right? I found out the opposite when staying with people where it's not balanced, where there's a lack of trust and so on, that I tend to have a headache the next day.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. And then I observed it for a while and I say, why? And don't get me wrong, I don't put the blame on anyone, but it's the energy of others, right? It's your
Yeah.
own energy aligning with the energy of others or not. You feel happy and cozy, or you feel stressed because
Mm-hmm.
you have said something maybe to someone you're not sure you can trust, and then the next day when
Mm-hmm.
everyone is sober again, people talk, right? And it's a learning process. We all know that. But yeah,
Yeah.
cooking,
Cooking and sharing.
preparing food and sharing the moment,
Yeah.
sharing the food, um, yeah, is fulfilling.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
nice.
This was
Yeah,
also one of the topics we discussed in a previous podcasts, that sharing is one of the crucial ways of how to manage the stress. Um, so I love that you also brought this up in this podcast. And
pleasure.
yeah, I would love to round this podcast up and ask you for what's your one takeaway from this interview? Like, what's one memorable thing that comes to your mind, or or something you want people to specifically memorize, take away?
To share experience
Mm.
of our moods, of our highs and lows, to speak more openly to each other about stuff that really matters. And this has nothing to do with satisfying the own ego. This is just sharing with others. The same way we share food, the same way
Mm-hmm.
we can share thoughts, experience of life, wisdom of life, giving advice, listening to advice. Compassionate listening, I think, is one big thing to find inner happiness. To compassionate listening to others and forget their own ego, leave it beside, and focus on someone else who want to talk and who needs a confidential listening ear.
Yeah.
This is what I love, and this is also I have in my work and you in yours. Um, to share more and to support
Share
each
more.
other more and to be here for each other, whatever is the issue. We're living in challenging times. I think we are ready to opening up more to each other and really talk stuff that matters in our lives and supporting each other whenever possible.
Lovely. And the final question, we're almost done here. I always ask my guests, who's the next person you would love to see on this podcast? Is there anyone you could recommend me to reach out to for the next guest?
Your next guest. A good friend of mine, also LinkedIn family member, Luigi Scotti.
Awesome.
Luigi Scotti from Italy. Yes, he's a brother, he's a close friend of mine. We're cheering each other up. We are there for each other when everything seems to go down.
Yeah.
We make things to going up again. Luigi Scotti would be my recommendation. It's
Thank
a
you.
very interesting.
I'm not connected with him yet, so it sounds like amazing opportunity to
Luigi Scotti,
invite new people.
I can send you
Awesome.
his data, and he's a very wise man and very experienced. He is around 50 and has also a very interesting life. Moved from Italy to Africa. And he's a very wise man. We came together by reading his quotes on LinkedIn, and I say, wow, that's interesting,
Nice.
and so we became friends. This is one of the humans I would recommend for a podcast.
Awesome. So thank you very much, Otto. It was really a pleasure talking to you. Lots of really deep insights, and I'm just looking forward to publish this thing and get it out to people so I can share this knowledge to others.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for the kind recommendation, invitation, sorry, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, Toms.